A city with a heart comes together to save a life. People and police join hands and make way for a donor heart to reach a girl who was on the brink. 26 cops man key intersections in peak traffic. What would have taken an hour is done in 13 minutes. In a country where death due to traffic delays and getting medical help is routine, Chennai stood up and showed the way. CNN IBN salutes the spirit of Chennai. Almost a miracle. If Chennai can do it, why can't the rest of India? On that very inspiring and positive note, good evening and welcome to News 360. I'm Palki.
I'm Amrita Tripathi taking you through other headlines tonight.
The problems only, the bomb blasting like that, only hearing the sound. We are not seeing anything. We came here February 17th, till now we are inside the hospital.
Families of 86 Indians stranded in Mosul and Tikrit wait anxiously for their return as violence escalates in Iraq. The country's biggest oil refinery is shut down but does remain under government control.
The Uttar Pradesh governor resigns amid speculation that all Congress-appointed governors may be removed or transferred. H.R. Bharadwaj and J.B. Patnaik deny reports of their exit. Congress calls it a witch hunt.
The government tries to stabilize prices, imposing a minimum export price on onions and potatoes, telling states to crack down on illegal hoarding. It's put 22 commodities under watch, battling inflation at a 5-month high.
One thing about this budget which one can safely guess. It will be a budget which will set the tone and direction for what is to come in the next 5 years.
Corporates are not thieves, says the Commerce and Industry Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, promising a good budget in an interview to CNN IBN.
IPL Chief Operating Officer Sundar Raman denies claims made by Preeti Zinta that he was present during the alleged assault, saying he wasn't at the Bangalore auction where Neswadia allegedly fought with the actor.
The Brazil junket may have been junked, but a CAG report accessed by CNN IBN shows how Goa ministers regularly holiday at the taxpayers' expense. The tourism minister tops that list.
Shocking crime. Highway robbers attacking a family on the Mumbai-Pune expressway, beating a mother and daughter with metal rods, stealing items worth 1 lakh rupees.
And the big World Cup game tonight, hosts Brazil take on their South American rivals, Mexico.
For the top news, we're tracking the government moving to check the rising prices of commodities like onions and potatoes, setting a minimum export price.
Yes, a minimum export price on onions, potatoes has been set with the centre advising states to crack down on hoarding. Additional quantities of rice will now be released in the market. The centre also advising states to remove restrictions on fruit, vegetable procurement. This decision was taken at a top-level meeting chaired by Finance Minister Arun Jaitley. Rupashi Nanda joining us on the phone line. Rupashi, the government moving in to control the damage. What did the Finance Minister say about his meeting with the Food and the Agriculture Ministers?
The Finance Minister was very clear that taming inflation was the top priority for the government, and in that meeting all the ministers concerning inflation, for instance Food, Civil Supplies, Consumer Affairs, Minister of Agriculture, Minister of Commerce and even the Principal Secretary to the Prime Minister were all present. And they have taken a host of decisions, most important of them being, of course, to impose a minimum export price on potatoes as well. Remember, the decision to impose a minimum export price on onions was already taken earlier. The second important decision they have taken is to release an extra amount of rice from the Food Corporation of India into the market that will act, that will tame the rising prices in rice. The minister also said that while there are 4 commodities which are showing a tendency towards rising in terms of prices, however, these are minimal as of now. And the signal that the government wants to send is that hoarders and speculators should not take advantage of fears of drought and cash in on fears of shortage.
Rupashi, hold on for a moment. We want to play out what Arun Jaitley had to say, and we're going to come right back to you.
States are being advised to delist fruits and vegetables from the APMC list. minimum export price in relation to potatoes will be fixed by the Ministry of Commerce.
All right, Rupashri is still with us. Rupashri, when he says states have been advised to delist fruits and vegetables from this agriculture produce market committee list, what does that really entail, and will that help going forward?
Amrita, this has been a long-standing demand from many quarters that the APMC laws or APMC Act should be reformed. But then that is a area which is specific to the states, and only the states can take decisions on that. The centre can only advise. So even though the centre has advised the states to act in a particular way, it is not absolutely imperative for the states to follow the centre's advice. Remember, it's just an advisory. The second thing is what they aim to do is to free the movement of fruits and vegetables so that the farmer has the freedom to sell whether through the APMC or outside, and therefore will not fall prey to cartels in many places.
All right.
That was the most important thing, but then it is completely up to the states. Remember, agriculture is a state subject.
All right. Joining us also food policy analyst Devendra Sharma. Mr. Sharma, I wonder if you've been following the latest flashes that have been coming in. The government has put a minimum export price on onions and potatoes, advising states to crack down on hoarding. Additional quantities of rice are going to be released in the market, and states have been told to delist fruits and vegetables from the APMC. How far are these measures going to help, and what more could the centre do at this point?
Well, I think the first few suggestions or first actions that have been announced are very good. The final thing that we talk about APMC delisting fruits and vegetables, I think is a questionable move, but I think it needs to be studied whether that's the right move or not. But primarily what the government has done is to raise the MAP, minimum export price, and also the other decisions I think are required at this juncture.
Hoarding is one big worry, sir. What more can the government do? It's only advising the state governments to ensure that hoarders are brought to book and hoarding is checked.
Well, I think this government will have to deliver, because the kind of expectation this people have from this government, it's quite obvious that if these prices start shooting up in the weeks to come or in the days to come, and the government is only passing on the buck to the state government, I think this particular NDA, which is in complete majority, will not like that situation to happen. So I am hoping that they will be having a good tie-up or a collaboration with the state governments to clamp down on hoarding.
All right, Devendra Sharma, I appreciate you joining us. Rupashri Nanda with that big news coming in. The government moving, remember, to try and tackle those prices. Will it be effective is something we'll have to wait to see. Families of 86 Indians stranded in Iraq, most of them nurses from Kerala and truck drivers from Punjab, anxiously waiting for the return of their loved ones. The militant group ISIS taking control of most of the north of Iraq. Clashes continue even today, the violence just escalating.
The ripples of the Iraq crisis being felt back home as well. Over 86 Indians are stranded in the war-torn country, many of them nurses from Kerala. As fighting intensifies, concerns over their safety are rising. CNN IBN spoke to two nurses stranded in Tikrit and Baghdad, who say they just want to return home.
Only hearing the problems, only the bomb blasting like that, only hearing the sounds. We came here February 17th, till now we are inside the hospital.
Anyway, we don't want to continue here. Don't want to continue here. We want to come back to India.
Official sources say around 46 Indians are still stranded in Tikrit and over 40 stuck in Mosul. Back home, the families of nurses can only pray for their safety.
We were not keen, but she insisted on going to Iraq. She has been working at a hospital near Baghdad for the past year and a half. She told us that there's no problem there, but they are unable to return because it's not fully safe.
We will never allow her to return to Iraq.
We have not gotten any news that is optimistic.
I pray to God that we receive some help in bringing her back.
And we are in regular contact with the External Affairs Ministry.
Also amongst those stranded are young men from Punjab. Rupinder Kaur's brother was working as a truck driver there. She alleges the External Affairs Ministry has been no help.
मैंने हमारे एक्सटर्नल अफेयर्स में मेल की हुई है, तो उनको भी एम्बेसी को भी मेल की हुई है, लेकिन अभी तक कुछ सॉल्यूशन नहीं मिला.
The ministry though says they're doing their best.
The Embassy of India in Baghdad is providing us updated reports on their contacts with the Indian nationals in the affected areas.
Their relatives.
But the pressure is mounting on the centre to act.
I would urge the government to send a squadron of Indian Air Force with a transport plane and park it in Baghdad, evacuate all the Indians and bring them back.
We have not seen any steps taken so far, and it is a very, very serious situation.
With violence on the ground likely to continue in the coming days, the question is, what can the Indian government do to help its citizen in Iraq? With Bureau Inputs in New Delhi, Meenakshi Upreti.
Travel by road is not safe in Iraq, but the best hope for those stranded in Mosul or Tikrit is getting to the Baghdad airport or the Erbil airport. Arunodaya Mukherjee gets us more on the evacuation plans.
The developments in Iraq are a big cause for concern in India. Let's get you a bird's eye perspective on what is happening on the ground in Iraq. This is what the map looks like of Iraq at the moment. The ISIS rebels, which is also going by the name ISIL, are slowly taking over city after city. The second largest city of Iraq, Mosul, falling to them. Tikrit, which is just 140 kilometers northwest of Baghdad, also falling to the ISIS. And they are progressing towards the capital city of Baghdad. And that is where the big worry is as to what will happen if it does fall to the rebels. Just to give you the Indian perspective, which is what we are very closely looking at, the green areas that we've highlighted for you of Dohuk, Erbil and Suleimania, these are the places where it is relatively under control. An estimated 18,000 Indian citizens are living in the rest of northern parts of Iraq. But the worry lies in Mosul, Tikrit and Baghdad, because around 15,000 workers are also located in the peaceful Kurdistan region. But 46 Indian nurses are stranded in Tikrit. 41 construction workers are stranded in Mosul. So what exactly is the Indian government planning as far as any kind of evacuation procedure is concerned? Well, you will get those answers in our next plate. Dohuk, Erbil, Suleimania, Samara. These are the places which we are focusing on as far as the evacuation process is concerned. What the Indian government is contemplating really is perhaps take some of those stranded Indian nationals towards Erbil, because Erbil has an airport. Then start or put into operation evacuation procedures. The other option is perhaps by road, bring them to Baghdad if the situation is peaceful or under control, but that is a big if. A few Indians have already been airlifted from the Iraqi city of Samara, which is barely 25 kilometers north of Baghdad. So the big worry really is what happens to Baghdad, the capital city of Iraq. Because if Baghdad falls, that is where the worry really will lie, because that is where the seat of the government is, and if it falls to the rebels, then it could lead to a case of complete political turmoil.
In fact, the fear is Iraq is disintegrating as we speak. The government saying it's shut down its biggest oil refinery. That's one of 3 oil refineries it has, evacuating all foreign staff there, though it says the military is still in control there in Beji. We are learning that local staff are in place, but fighting certainly has escalated. ISIS increasingly in control across the north of Iraq. Many Iraqis were killed in the latest clashes in Bakuba today, 60 kilometers from Baghdad. Though government forces say they repelled the militants, the speculation globally continuing whether the US and Iran will cooperate to help Iraqi forces. The US Pentagon moving more firepower and manpower into the region to provide support depending on what US President Barack Obama decides. CNN's Nick Robertson with the latest.
Certainly over the weekend, the sectarian violence peaked, if you will, on Sunday, a suicide bombing targeting Shias, but it is just below the surface here, and any evidence of sort of a further escalation of it, we can't substantiate at the moment, but it is bubbling just below the surface. Anger is there. The very latest that we're getting from Bakuba, 45 minutes drive just northeast of the capital here, from an official in the governor's office in Bakuba, we are being told that ISIS is, quote, making substantial gains in that city. The fighting continues there.
Huge concerns really in terms of the violence, and we're certainly seeing also crude oil prices affected by this ongoing crisis.
Investor fears in fact have sparked a market sell-off across the region. Here's a closer look.
Investors don't like uncertainty, and these are uncertain times in the Middle East, spurred by escalating violence in Iraq. That sent jitters across the region's stock markets Monday. The main indices all ended firmly in the red. Dubai led the way, falling sharply down 3%. Jitters also in global oil markets. Iraq is OPEC's second largest crude producer. A potential threat to supply sent Brent crude futures to about $114 a barrel for the first time in 9 months. An Iraqi government official says the fighting has not impacted production so far. That's because almost 2/3 of the country's production is in the south of the country. ISIS fighters are far from that area now.
We continue to monitor that situation very closely indeed. Back home, the new government is looking to remove or transfer several governors appointed by the UPA government.
Especially the political appointees. Sam Governor J.B. Patnaik for one and Karnataka's H.R. Bharadwaj have met the president, but they have denied reports of their resignation. Sources also tell CNN-IBN that Kerala Governor Sheila Dikshit has left the decision on quitting to the Congress High Command. Other governors who could be sacked or moved are Shivraj Patil, Ram Naresh Yadav and Margaret Alva. Uttar Pradesh Governor B.L. Joshi has already stepped down. His resignation has been accepted by the president. Sources tell us that those governors who do not resign will be transferred to smaller states. Here's an exclusive interview with Governor H.R. Bharadwaj.
Have you got any kind of communication from the Ministry of Home Affairs or anybody in the new government to put in your papers?
No. I have asked for appointment with the Home Minister in next 1 or 2 days, and I am going to call on the Home Minister, the Prime Minister, and return. And once the new governor they announce, then I will send my ADC to receive him and come back.
UPA government in the past has also removed governors who were part of the NDA, appointments that were made by the NDA. So do you think it's almost like a tradition that is being carried out?
Obviously, the governors are appointed by the cabinet, and president approves them. So if a cabinet decides to appoint a new governor, then who can stop it? The change of government obviously made change of the system. And
does it also mean change of governors?
Not automatically. I say this is a prerogative of the new government to decide who should be posted as new governor, and unless they take it, the governor cannot leave Raj Bhavan.
We are also told that governors that were appointed by the Congress could resign.
That would be a wrong move. That shows an hostility towards the new government. Why should they do it?
Sir, I have not resigned, but who has created this news?
आप राष्ट्रपति से मिले और एक
राष्ट्रपति से जब गवर्नर मिलते हैं, रिजाइन करने के लिए मिलते हैं।
आपके इस्तीफा देने की खबर दिया है ना, आपसे इस्तीफा
मैं क्यों इस्तीफा दूंगा? क्यों? कारण क्या है?
I can't react to rumors. I can't react to rumors.
Do you feel that the BJP-led government is indulging in a witch hunt?
Of course it is, very clearly. I think it's very unfortunate. In the year 2010, a very clear judgment came out from the Supreme Court, which said that while government can remove governors, it cannot be done in an arbitrary, whimsical or capricious manner. I've heard from some sources that, in fact media, that Home Secretary called up governors. I mean, governors outrank Home Secretaries. Governors are constitutional posts, you know. And it's high time we learn the fact that there is something called a constitutional post and respected for that.
Mrs. Sheila Dikshit also been asked to resign, and will she be putting in her papers now?
I have no idea. You should ask her. She's a governor. It would not be fair on me to comment on what she would like to do or not like to do. If there's anything, I think you should ask her.
We should not be tampering with the posts of the governors, which is a constitutional position. Unless, of course, there's something very specific that you have against a governor of acts of commission and omission. Otherwise, in principle, just because it was he or she is an appointee of an earlier government, to change them is not politically ethical and not constitutionally correct.
All right, helping us get more perspective, Mario Shakil joining us live tonight. Mario, the Congress and several of these governors and representatives making it clear they think it's a witch hunt, but the tenure of many of these governors is going to end in the next couple of months. So that's not the way the BJP is looking at it.
That's right, and one would be surprised what the statement that has come from H.R. Bhardwaj, who is the governor of Karnataka, he himself saying that this should not be looked at in any form, that this is not what has been followed or what is really the tradition. The tradition, as the NDA government has done in the past, or the UPA government has also done, changed the governors that were appointed by the previous regime. Important is what H.R. Bhardwaj is saying there. He's essentially pointing out that the present government is very much entitled to change the governors and have them according to its own liking. But as the government sources are also pointing out that some of these governors, 3 of them who in fact met the president today, including H.R. Bhardwaj and governor of Assam and also governor of Rajasthan, Margaret Alwa, all these, the tenure of these governors is in fact ending over the next 2 to 3 months or 4 months. So in order to attach some kind of motive will be not appropriate. But this has been really the tradition. I mean, the governments in the past have come and changed the governors that were appointed by the previous regimes. On its part, we are told that the government sources are looking at some kind of homes, Raj Bhavans particularly, for their own octogenarians, which includes Lalji Tandon, senior BJP leaders who could not be part of this cabinet. Because remember, Narendra Modi himself had put that cap of 75 years. So those BJP leaders who were above the age of 75 were not even considered to be part of his Council of Ministers. So they are looking at Raj Bhavans where they could be sent, and in fact looking at, no new homes, one would say, for their own leaders.
Right, governorship clearly turning into political consolation prizes here. Thanks very much, Maria Shakil, for joining us with that. And now it's time for a CNN IB exclusive interview. Corporates are not thieves. That's what Commerce and Industry Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has said.
And she's promising a good budget as well this year, talking about the UPA government emptying the treasuries, how she put it, speaking to Pallavi Ghosh in this exclusive.
The onion prices have risen, and that's why your ministry has stepped in. There is inflation figures which have risen. The stock markets are very turbulent. They are kind of now high a bit. Petrol prices, diesel prices, the Iraq crisis, all of that looms large. So the price rise was the last note on which this UPA government went out of power on, and that's the promise you brought in. Do you think that's going to be one of the biggest challenges for you?
It certainly is a big challenge. I'm not hiding away.
And even for that you blame the mismanagement or the fiscal mismanagement of the UPA?
No, actually that's the line which you're trying to remind me about, and I'm trying to say I want to move forward. That's a reality all of us know. I'm not going to harp on that. I'm now putting all my energy, whether it is in my ministry or the government, and Prime Minister Modi himself is very clearly saying, let's see how best we are going to move forward. And I'm glad you raised the issue of onion. That's only an example of how we are trying to be prepared for eventualities which are beyond our hands.
You are open about FDI in defense, but what about FDI in construction and railways?
We are open about discussing on FDI in defense, in railways, in construction, and probably a few other. But it is all discussion that we are open about now. And I want to take this opportunity, Pallavi, that we have not made up our mind on FDI, cap to 49, cap to 51, with technology, without technology. None of this has been made up yet. The final call has got to be taken by the cabinet.
Possibility of increasing the tax slab for consumers, for people like us. Is it something that you're looking at?
Those are the kind of things which have come in during the interaction with the finance minister. A lot of people have, suggested this, suggested that. The FM is fully seized of it, and I'm sure the budget will reveal what he wants to say.
But do you think you can afford to have a populist budget at this point of time, or at least the possibility that perhaps this time around you may not be able to go into a very populist budget? You may have to take some tough calls, and there is a next time round.
I think one thing about this budget which one can safely guess, it will be a budget which will set the tone and direction for what is to come in the next 5 years.
All right, well, what do you want from the budget? We're hoping to hear. That's coming up next.
A closer look at what India is expecting from the finance minister.
If I was the finance minister, I would encourage low interest rate on the education loans and apply a capping limit to the fee structure of the private universities and schools.
Let's get to that incredible story now. People in Chennai proving their all heart. The traffic police, commuters and doctors working in tandem to save a life.
In fact, traffic was stopped for a life-saving 14 minutes, enabling a heart transplant to take place. Anna Isaac with this story.
Traffic hold-ups can be frustrating, but this one helped save a life. Traffic was stopped by the Chennai Traffic Police on Monday as a team of doctors rushed with a donor heart for a 21-year-old in the nick of time. The heart from a 27-year-old accident victim was transported in a special container.
Time is crucial in organ donation. It would have normally taken at least an hour to travel from the Rajiv Gandhi Government Hospital to the Fortis Mala Hospital 12 kilometers away. But with 26 policemen stationed at different intersections, the ambulance was given a green corridor, ensuring that there were no stops and that the heart reached within just 14 minutes.
So yesterday we got the heart in 14 minutes along the route, and here we took another 1.5 hours. So within 2 hours everything was over. Once the surgery was over, the heart started beating.
It was a new lease of life for 21-year-old Hovi Minushromji, who has been waiting for a donor for over a month. Relief was written large on the faces of her family.
The way she was speaking to us and the way she smiled and looked up at me like she's got a second innings to play.
I am aware that there are patients waiting over here for the last 2 months, 3 months for a transplant. We have to thank God, we have to thank the donor, primarily the donor's family.
Monday's coordinated exercise isn't a first for Chennai's traffic police. In fact, a previous such case was famously made into a Malayalam movie called Traffic. The speedy and smooth execution is the lesson for other cities to follow. With Anna Isaac in Chennai, in New Delhi, Meenakshi Upreti.
And joining us tonight on News 360, Dr. K.R. Balakrishnan. He's the Director of Cardiac Sciences from the Fortis Malabar Hospital. Doctor, first of all, congratulations for what the police, the doctors and the people of Chennai have been able to achieve. Timing is of essence, but the lesson from this is that this can be done. Can this be a standard operating procedure in cases like these?
Thanks very much. Yes, it's not often needed because a lot of transplants take place at night. At that time the traffic is not as dense, and it also depends upon where the donor and the recipient hospitals are located. So if that distance is short, we don't make use of this. But yesterday, for some reason, by the time the organ became available, it was peak traffic, I think 5 o'clock in the evening. And the two hospitals are located in such a distance that several times it takes up to 2.5 hours for the organ to be available in the recipient hospital. That's why we made use of the green corridor.
And Doctor, can you just take us through how the 21-year-old is doing right now? Even as we look at, this is such an incredible story and it's brought so much cheer to so many people. Again, hoping that it can set a precedent of sorts. Just take us through, because there's certainly issues when it comes to organ transplants that many doctors like you have highlighted in the past in terms of infrastructure that's lacking.
She's doing very well. I think hopefully in the next few days she should be out of the intensive care and back in the room. Infrastructure for a transplant is available in most hospitals. What I think needs to be done is a good system of organ donation from brave individuals and organ sharing network, which the government of Tamil Nadu has done very, very well. In fact, we have the highest donor pool in the whole country, and it's very well organized, and that's gone a long way towards the success of our transplant program.
Can you, for our viewers, tell us how it all came about, how the government hospital informed the doctors at Fortis Malabar Hospital, also bringing into the loop the police so that the smooth transfer could be made from one hospital to another within a record 14 minutes?
Yes, again, to be honest, I'm a little surprised by the interest in this item because this has happened several times before. And it's especially if the organ donation takes place in the daytime or during peak hours, we have a transplant coordinator who coordinates with the hospital which is receiving the organ as well as the one which is donating, and they coordinate with the police and do it actually pretty efficiently, in my opinion.
I suppose the surprise is because we haven't seen so many of these stories. Doctor, just take us through the green corridor, this concept, and is it something that other cities have? We're already showing and we're indicating that Chennai are ahead of other cities when it comes to organ transplants, when it comes to this sort of mechanism.
Yes, actually the actual distances may not be very huge, but the traveling time is quite long. because of the traffic. So ahead of time, by the police informs the control rooms, and all the traffic signals are in green, and all the other oncoming traffic is stopped. As a consequence, you could travel a distance of 15 kilometers in 15 minutes. So it makes the organ available at a very short time.
Right, and this is in focus, doctor, because this is a country where reports and headlines of people dying because of traffic delays in getting medical help are much more common than what we've seen in Chennai today, which is why it is such an inspirational story, and which is why we're asking you if this can be replicated in other cities, if mechanisms like this exist.
I think certainly with more awareness, certainly more organs can be donated, and what can be done here should and can easily be reproduced in other parts of the country.
So in terms of the green corridor itself, and in terms you were saying, as other doctors have highlighted, the need for a database and to make more awareness when it comes to the need for organ transplants.
Certainly. See, the more awareness you create, the more patients are willing to donate in case the need arises. And it's just a matter of educating the public and the patients and the doctor and staff involved.
Well, congratulations again, and thanks for showing the way into the country. The doctor, they're telling us this has happened several times before, but it's certainly an eye-opening incident for us. You can find more on the green corridor and other organ transplant-related issues on IBN Live.
Welcome back. The latest in the Preeti Zinta molestation case. IPL CEO Sundar Raman has denied some of the claims made by Zinta in a complaint to the police.
Now, he's saying he wasn't present at a Bangalore auction where the actor allegedly fought with Ness Wadia, who she's now lodged a case against. The actor does say that Sundar Raman had intervened in that argument. Meanwhile, IPL chairperson Ranjit Biswal has confirmed that Preeti Zinta made a verbal complaint on the 30th of May at the Wankhede Stadium, where she was allegedly physically assaulted, and that's what she's lodged in her police complaint as well. Sources say police have asked Zinta's lawyer to get hold of the actress, call her so her statement can be recorded. Shravan Sen with more.
Mumbai police is now heavily depending on eyewitness statements, given the fact that not much has been revealed so far in the CCTV footage. Remember, Mumbai police has already gone through at least 9 hours of footage, but the alleged argument that Preeti Zinta is talking about is not captured in that CCTV footage. Also adding to that, now the IPL CEO not saying that he was not present at the Bangalore auction. Certainly questions now being raised as to how Mumbai police would actually go ahead with the eyewitness statements, because that is going to be extremely crucial for the investigation.
Goa's ministers and their junkets back in the news days after their so-called study tour to Brazil for the World Cup was junked. CNN has accessed a CAG report that shows how these ministers routinely holiday at the taxpayers' expense. The CAG report says that between 2007 and 2012, the Goa Tourism Department conducted 38 international trademarks and 15 roadshows worldwide, incurring expenses of 19 crore rupees. And this is coming from Maharashtra, where a family from Pune were beaten and robbed at the Mumbai-Pune Expressway. The mother and daughter were allegedly beaten with metal rods while the father had gone to fetch water. Robbers allegedly ran away with items worth over 1 lakh rupees.
To more national news, the Railway Board recommending a hike in train fares. Railways Minister Sadanand Gowda will meet Prime Minister Narendra Modi before a final decision is taken. The Prime Minister's office has been told the hike is inevitable, both for passenger and freight fares. Government also saying the Prime Minister is reluctant to increase passenger fares when it comes to sleeper class, but may agree to a hike in AC1 and AC2 fares. A 5% increase in freight fares is also on the anvil.
The Delhi High Court has allowed 15 days parole for Jessica Lal murder case convict Manu Sharma. He'd sought parole to appear for his post-graduation exam.
Sources are telling CNN IBN that Agriculture Minister Radha Mohan has raised the issue of the EU banning mangoes with the British High Commissioner, who met with him today, expressing serious concerns on being singled out in Asia. The ban was imposed in the first week of April over some issues in terms of quality.
After spending almost a year in prison without charge, the Egyptian government has ordered the release of Al Jazeera journalist Abdullah El-Shami on medical grounds. He has been on a hunger strike since January this year in protest against his imprisonment. He received major public support from journalists worldwide who called for his immediate release. 13 other people will also be released on medical grounds, but 3 journalists remain in prison.
All right, to more news we are tracking. July will see the Narendra Modi government table its maiden budget in Parliament.
Karma Paljor travelled to Haryana to gauge the expectation of the dairy farmers there. In fact, they're asking for fair prices for cooperatives to sell their.
तो आप लोगों का जो अभी मेन प्रॉब्लम्स हैं जो सरकार को आप बताना चाहते हैं वो क्या क्या है?
सबसे बड़ी तो दूध की कीमत ही है हमें जो कम मिलता है। जब दूध ज़्यादा होता है तो उस समय हमें सरकार कुछ नहीं देती। जब दूध कम हो जाता है तो हमें 4 रुपये बोनस देते हैं गाड़ी का, फिर हमें इतना खर्चा पड़ जाता है। तो जब हमें पशुओं की अच्छी कीमत नहीं मिलती, कोई यहाँ मार्केटिंग नहीं है, जैसे कि पशुओं की मंडी अगर हो, किसानों को ले जाने में दिक्कत ना हो। पशुओं को ले जाने में बहुत दिक्कत है, हमें कोई बेचते हैं पशु तो उनमें भी अच्छी हमें वो नहीं मिलता।
रणदीप जी, आप एक यंग युवा किसान हैं, आप लोग अपने फैमिली ट्रेडिशन को आगे बढ़ा रहे हैं। बहुत सारे नहीं है, बहुत सारे अभी छोड़ के चले गए हैं। तो आपका एक मैसेज अगर कुछ प्रधानमंत्री को हो तो आपका मैसेज वो क्या होगा?
देखिए, दूध की जो कीमत है वो निर्धारित करनी चाहिए गवर्नमेंट को। इस पर कितना खर्चा है और कितनी इसकी वैल्यू होनी चाहिए, वो हमारी गवर्नमेंट की अभी तक कोई भी निर्धारित कोई ऐसी स्कीम नहीं है। हालांकि हमारे जो कोऑपरेटिव भी हैं वो भी हमसे कम कीमत पर दूध लेकर उसको डबल मार्जिन पे बेच रहे हैं। तो ये तरीका बिल्कुल गलत है। जो 25 रुपये दूध हमसे खरीदा गया और उसको 50 रुपये उसकी कम फैट करके बेचा गया, तो इतना जो डिफरेंस बीच में आ गया ये ठीक नहीं है। इससे किसान इस काम को छोड़ के जो मेरी तरह के भी हैं वो भी इस काम को छोड़ के अब दूसरी तरफ भाग रहे हैं।
What do you expect from the budget? Keep writing in to us. We're taking a break.
That's right, but taking a look at some of the expectations coming in.
If I was the Finance Minister Arun Jaitley, I would offload the unessential public sector units which are making losses, and I would divert the funds that are allotted to those units to essential public projects like development of roads and railways.
Sports, as we said on IBNlive.com, that'll be a wrap on News 360 tonight.